who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. This is a quote by George Santayana. In 1915, the Ottoman Empire carried out mass murders and deportations of Christian Armenians from their homeland, which is now modern-day Turkey. It is estimated that between 600,000 and 1.5 Armenians were executed or deported. Today, I will discuss the events surrounding the genocide of 1915. I will give you some information about the Armenian history and its people, and then I will tell you about the events about the genocide. Ronald Sunni, author of Armenian Genocide, Turkish American History, wrote in 2015 that Armenia is one of the oldest civilizations in the world, dating back thousands of years. It is located in the southern Caucasus region of Eurasia. I'm going to show you a map of present-day Armenia and its borders. It borders Georgia to the north, and Turkey is to the west, Azerbaijan is to the east, and Iran is to the south. Okay, Dennis Papazian, professor of history at the University of Michigan, Dearborn, and author of Armenians, stated in 1987 that Armenia was the first nation to adopt Christianity as its national religion in 301 CE. Throughout history, Armenia has been ruled by various empires such as the Greeks, the Romans, the Persians, the Ottomans, and the Russians. For hundreds of years, eastern Anatolia, which is now Turkey, was inhabited by Christian Armenians living amongst Muslim Kurds. From the 16th century until World War I, Armenia was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was one of the most powerful empires at the height of its power in the 15th and 16th centuries. The Ottoman Empire lasted more than 600 years and was ended in 1922. In 1908, a group of revolutionaries known as the Young Turks overthrew the Sultan and came to power. Sarah Cohen, the education director of the nonprofit organization The Genocide Project and author of A Brief History of the Armenian Genocide, stated in 2005 that the Ottomans thought Russia was a national security threat, especially along the Ottoman-Russian border. The Russians were one of the Ottomans' greatest enemies. The Ottomans grew concerned that the Armenians would commit treacherous acts with the Russians. The Ottoman Empire was crumbling, and the Turk leaders blamed the Armenians for this decline. When World War I began in 1914, the Young Turks joined forces with Germany and Austria against Russia, France, and Great Britain. At the beginning of 1915, the Ottomans suffered their greatest defeat against Russian troops. The Armenians were used as a scapegoat for the military failures of the Young Turks. Now that we've talked a little bit about the history of Armenia, we will move into the genocide of 1915. April 24th, 1915 marks the beginning of the Armenian genocide. In the empire's ancient capital of Constantinople, about 250 community leaders and intellectual Armenians were rounded up, arrested, and executed. After the leaders were killed, the plan to get rid of the Armenians was set into motion. The Armenian soldiers and the Turkish government were disarmed, transported to labor camps, and systematically murdered by the Ottoman government. The Young Turks sent orders to gather the Armenians from their homes and to march them up the mountains and through eastern Anatolia. Okay, this map, it depicts the Armenian genocide and the massacres and the deportation routes in historical Armenia. Okay, archaeologists have discovered mass graves in the Syrian desert. Many of the skeletons were that of women and children who perished during these marches. It is estimated that 600,000 to 1.5 million Armenians perished during this time. The numbers remain unclear because there wasn't many records back then. Turkey actively denies that the events that took place constitute as a genocide. Although the Turkish government does admit to the deportations and some of the killings, they claim that it was an act of war and that their national security was threatened. The term genocide was created after World War II in 1944 by Raphael Lemkin. A genocide means a systematic eradication of a group of people. Most historians have determined that the mass killings and deportations do fit the definition of genocide. In 2004, a law was passed by the Turkish government making it illegal to talk about the Armenian genocide. The families of the victims have continually pushed for the acknowledgement of their relatives' pain and suffering. Some countries such as the United States, Great Britain, and Israel have not publicly acknowledged the genocide perhaps because they don't want to affect the relationship with Turkey. In 2015, government officials of Turkey did express their condolences to the victims' families. In conclusion, the pain and horror surrounding the events are still felt around the world. In 2 weeks, it will be the 101st anniversary of the genocide. Today, we have discussed some of the events surrounding the genocide. We talked a little bit about the history of the Armenian people, and then we discussed next the Armenian genocide. In 1915, between 600,000 and 1.5 million Armenians were suffered at the hands of the Turks. Remembering our past and learning from it can help preserve our future.
Yay! Kill the cat. Hey, have you ever seen a program, Kevin saw this,